Cohasset, Massachusetts is the kind of town where nothing ever happens. Tree-lined streets, expensive homes, the type of place where neighbors wave, not worry. That's where Brian and Anna Walshe lived, along with their 3 young children, all under the age of 6. From the outside, their life looked ideal. A beautiful home, financial success, a growing family. But the truth underneath that image was already cracking. Anna Walshe wasn't born into that life. She earned it. Originally from Serbia, Anna moved to the US with ambition and discipline. She worked her way up through the hotel and real estate world, eventually landing a high-level role at a global real estate firm tied to some of the most valuable properties on Earth. She traveled constantly. She worked long hours. By every account, she was driven, capable, and respected. Brian, on the other hand, was harder to define. He spoke like a successful consultant. He lived like a wealthy executive. But when people looked closer, the details never quite lined up. And there was a reason for that. Years earlier, Brian had already been exposed for running an art scam that shocked collectors. He sold fake Andy Warhol paintings, convincing experienced buyers they were authentic. He took tens of thousands of dollars, deposited the money immediately, and then vanished when questions started being asked. When the truth came out, federal investigators got involved. Brian eventually pleaded guilty. By the time Anna disappeared, he was already under house arrest, awaiting sentencing in that federal fraud case. And yet somehow, despite all of this, their lifestyle barely changed, which raised a simple question no one asked out loud at the time. Where was the money really coming from? The answer didn't start with Anna. It started years earlier, with Brian's own father. Dr. Thomas Walshe was a prominent neurosurgeon, respected, wealthy, established. But according to court records, Brian and his father hadn't spoken in nearly a decade. Why? Because Brian had allegedly been stealing from him repeatedly. By the time Dr. Walshe passed away in 2018, he had cut his son out of his will entirely. Brian was left nothing. No inheritance, no second chance. That didn't stop him. After his father's death, Brian allegedly destroyed the will, emptied accounts, and sold off valuable property and artwork, triggering legal disputes with other family members. It wasn't just greed, it was a pattern, and patterns matter. Fast forward to New Year's Eve, 2022. According to Brian, a friend came over. They ate, drank, and celebrated the start of 2023 together. After the friend left, Brian says he and Anna went to bed. That was supposedly the last normal moment in their marriage. Brian later told police that Anna woke up early on January 1st, saying she had a work emergency in Washington, D.C. He claimed she kissed him goodbye and left quietly while he stayed in bed. She was never seen again. For days, Brian didn't report her missing. He didn't call police. He didn't raise alarms. He didn't act like a man whose wife had vanished without a trace. It was Anna's employer who finally contacted authorities on January 4th after she failed to show up and couldn't be reached. When police arrived at the Walshe home, Brian calmly repeated his story. But it didn't take long for it to unravel. Because while Brian claimed Anna left town, his internet history told a very different story. According to evidence presented at trial, searches conducted on devices linked to Brian on January 1st included questions about decomposition, body disposal, DNA persistence, and cleaning blood from wooden floors. Not days later, not weeks later, hours. These searches weren't framed as curiosity. They were procedural, and prosecutors argued they showed premeditation. But even that wasn't the most damaging evidence. Surveillance footage showed a man believed to be Brian purchasing supplies in cash just hours after Anna was last seen. The list was specific: a hacksaw, a utility knife, protective clothing, heavy-duty cleaning supplies, and materials commonly used to prevent contamination. The total, over $460. Then came the dumpsters. Footage showed someone disposing of large trash bags across multiple locations over several days, timing that aligned precisely with the digital searches investigators would later uncover. Inside some of those dumpsters, police recovered blood-stained items. DNA testing linked those items directly to Anna Walshe. Her body, however, was never found. Brian was arrested first for misleading investigators. Then came the murder charge. He pleaded not guilty and never took the stand. During the trial, the defense claimed Brian did not kill Anna, arguing instead that he found her unresponsive and panicked. Prosecutors disagreed. They laid out a timeline built on digital evidence, surveillance footage, forensic findings, and Brian's own words. After just 2 days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict: guilty, first-degree murder. On December 18, 2025, Brian Walshe stood before the court for sentencing. The judge didn't hesitate. She sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, the only sentence allowed under Massachusetts law for first-degree murder. She called his actions barbaric and incomprehensible. And she didn't just speak about Anna. She spoke about their children, 3 boys, who were just 2, 4, and 6 years old when their mother disappeared. Children who, as the judge said, will never be able to properly grieve her loss because there is no body to bury, no grave to visit, no goodbye. Anna's sister addressed the court next. She described an emptiness that never fades, milestones that will always feel incomplete, a lifetime of moments Anna should have been there for, but won't be. Prosecutors asked for consecutive sentences on all charges, arguing that Brian's actions didn't end with murder. They continued through lies, disposal, and deception. The defense argued that additional punishment would be inhumane. The prosecutor responded simply: inhumane describes the defendant's actions. The judge agreed. In the end, Brian Walshe was sentenced not just for killing his wife, but for what he stole from everyone else, from Anna's family, from his children, from investigators, from a community that believed his story, until the evidence spoke louder. And now, Brian Walshe will spend the rest of his life behind bars, not because he made one mistake, but because he believed, for far too long, that lies could replace the truth.